Hello everybody, my name is Jerry Asser and I'm a SharePoint Server MVP. In this small demo, we are going to look at how to do list settings. List settings are very important part of SharePoint. Allows you to do change the look, to change the title, descriptions, and as well as some navigational elements, how you want to show the list to the quick launch. Plus, as well as it allows you to do versioning, content types, and other things. Plus, you will be able to change the permissions, apply policies, etc. So there are three kinds of settings that we are going to look at. First is the general settings. Then we'll look at the permission management section of the settings, and at the end we'll quickly look at the communication section. So let's go back to our demonstration. And to first of all, here is my site. It has a list for employees, which is actually viewed view by group by department. And to go to the settings, all you have to go do on SharePoint 2010 is to click on the list ribbon, and then you can click on the list setting button on the ribbon. Remember that the ribbon might be expanded or collapsed based on your resolution. So but remember the icon, it's always the settings icon. So once you click on the settings icon, you will reach the settings page. It will show you the URL of the or of your list. This URL is very important because sometimes while developing applications you might need a list URL. So this is a pretty quick way of getting the URL for the list. And let's take a look at the general settings. General setting consists of five major settings of a list. It has something to do with the UI or title and description, and your ability to show it on the quick launch. And second one is the versioning. Versioning allow you to start the versioning settings. So let's go and first take a look at the description and title. So you see here my list name is employees. Let me just change it to employee information, and here is the quick launch option. Quick launch is the left area of the page. If you set it to no, the list will not be visible in the left section. A quick tip that if you are developing application that is storing certain piece of information for the settings or something like for end users, always set it to no, because you don't want the end users to see that settings list. So let's click save, and you will find out that while going back to the list, we will see that the list information has been changed. So you see now, one important piece you should understand, that when you create a list in SharePoint, it creates a folder inside SharePoint database. But you see here that while changing the title does not change the actual location of the list. So when you are developing application, you have to make sure that this URL, you should not try to create it from the title. This URL should be the first name you have ever given to your list. So it's very important to remember. Number two is, let's go to the versioning settings. Versioning setting is there are many options there that you might need to consider. First of all, that by default versioning is not enabled. So you might think about enabling the versioning on the list. So do you want to create version each time you edit an item? So this is yes or no. You can see here that once I set the yes, you can have the option to limit the number of versions. You can say let's have 5 version of the item, and after 5 it will start overwriting the items. Another very important piece of information is the content approval. Content approval basically does a small kind of workflow which allows you to, when you create an item, it set the status to draft, and you need somebody from the approvers group to go to the list and approve it. Another important point, that when you set it to yes, you will see on the bottom that the draft item security option will be enabled, and you will see that there is an option will appear that says who should draft items in the list. Any user who can read item, only users who can edit item, users only who can approve. So this means that once the item is in draft stage, it will be only visible to the people who have approve rights. So logically that's correct, but based on your situation, you might choose to say the people who can edit items. So let's click OK. And let's go back to the list and try to create an item. So let's create an item. Let's click on the ribbon and items and new item, and let's give it a name, for example John, and I think I already have John there, so let's create somebody like Ali Ahmed, and let's give him 23, and he lives in Jeddah, and he works in the software department. So let's save it. And you see now that because I enabled the versioning after creating few items, so you can see now that the item status is currently set to pending. So if an approver logs in now, you will see that this option will appear for him, and you can see that approve reject item option is appeared in the drop down. Another thing that you might notice, that which is very cool, that let's say you have 5 items to approve, you have the option to select all 3 items and click the approve and reject button from there. So I really love this option because it really gives you the power to not go and see all items one by one. So once you click on approve, you will find these 3 options. You can write you can select your option and click create. Okay, you write comment, and you can see that the approval has been done. So that's pretty much quickly. Also, we can look at the version history as well. Version history is also enabled for this. So you can see now that a new version has been created, and as soon as you will add new versions, they will be visible here. So let's go back to the list again, and let's look at advanced settings. Advanced settings are very important settings because the first very important section is a content type section. By default, if you are using an out-of-the-box list, for example announcement, so content types are enabled because announcement is a content type. So on the other hand, when you create a custom list, the content type is not enabled. In future we'll look at the content types, but for now, if you set it to yes, what will happen, that special area will appear in the list settings page called content types, where we can add new content types. So right now we'll set it to no. We'll see it in future how it works. Second area is item level permissions. This allows us to specify who can view items and who can create and edit items. So you can see here, this is important when you have any kind of list where you want only the authors of the items to see their items. So you see here, read access only people who created the item. So this way you can by default filter the items that are created by a user who logs in. So that's an easier way, but it's forced way. Only the user who has permissions to change the settings can change it. Second option is create and edit access. So again, just like above, you can say create and edit all items, and create items and edit items that were created by user or none. So again, set it to all for the time being. Lists items allow us to do attachments. You can upload attachment against the list item. So by default, it's enabled. So if you want to set it to disable, it's up to you. By default, SharePoint 2007 and 2010 allows you to create folders in list. It's off by default, but if you want to enable it, I think here's a tip for your application development. If you are going to develop an application that will have, for example, thousands of items, and it might cross the list threshold limit of your SharePoint environment or web application, so it's better to use folders, because what will happen that the folders will set the number of items to lower. Because of using folders, you will not reach the threshold. So for example, if you want to store items, you can set like daily create one folder, and then you can create items in that folder. Next day you can create the folder again and again. One thing that it might make the development of the web part a little complex, but I think this is better because it will stop you from making something bad for your environment. Again, search, you want to make this visible in the search results. Again, yes, by default is on, but for application level lists, I think it should be set to no. Offline client availability, it's up to you if you want to let the people download this list in Outlook, Microsoft SharePoint workspaces. You can set it to yes or no. Datasheet view is basically a view like Excel where you can modify your sheet just like Excel view. So you can just click on the section and click on the column and simply change the value. Dialogues is very important piece. If you want to use the same 2007 style of creating and managing editing items in lists, you can set the dialogue to no, and this way you will be very traditional. You will use a traditional way of creating items. So that's it. Let's click OK for now, and you see now I just change the value to see items created by the user. So let's set it to back to read items because I'm the only user. Validation settings is something new in SharePoint 2010. Basically, validation allows you to check a certain value when you are about to submit the item. You can create a formula just like Excel. If you see the example, you will find out equals discount less than cost, only pass the validation. So you only pass validation if column discount is less than the cost. So so here you can see that I have a formula. It's very simple. It says age is greater than 20. So it means in the general word that it enforces that the age of the employee should be greater than 20. And here's the error message that I wanted to show. And let's click save. It's a very simple thing. So let's go and try to create a new employee, or let's modify this employee who's Jerry. So let's click on edit item. And let's set the age. Let's set it to something like 20. And let's click save. You'll find that there's an error message because it's only greater than. So let's try 15, and you will see this message appearing. Okay, so it failed again. So let's try 29, and let's click save. And this, you can see now that it accept 29 here. So that's another end user feature. If you want to enable some kind of validation, you can enable it here. Last thing in the general settings is the audience targeting setting, which allows you to enable audiences and then use them in the list. Right now we are not going to talk about it. In future, inshallah, we're going to talk about. So that's all about the general settings. In the next video, we're going to talk about permission management section. Thank you.